Gold Invest. Explore opportunity.
So, welcome to the latest Gold Invest DE interview, everyone. We're checking in with Glenn Jessome today, CEO of emerging silver producer Silver Tigre Metals. That's ticker SLVR on the TSXV Venture, and of course, the stock can also be traded in Germany. And, well, to phrase it a bit conservatively, the stock already has had a decent run this year. That's in part because of the very strong silver price environment. But I think it's pushing 38 US dollars per ounce as we speak. But that's also because the company has a great, very strong project in Mexico called El Tigre, and potentially two big catalysts coming up soon. And we would like to hear where Silver Tigre is at in that regard. Welcome, Glenn.
Bjorn, it's wonderful to be back on, and thank you very much. Look, we're doing what I think we should be doing right now. You know, our market cap is moving to a nice position for what we have, especially with the big catalysts coming. You know, we've delivered at El Tigre, if people don't remember, you know, almost documented 300 million silver equivalent ounces just around that old Tigre mine. We'll talk about that a little bit more, drilling just a couple of kilometers. We have 25 kilometers of this trend. We're just getting going. And if you add on to that the 100 million silver equivalent ounces that the old timers basically took, you're talking getting close to 500 million silver equivalent ounces already. And we're just getting started. So value is being reflected. We're at about $250 million market cap. That's a nice place for us to be right now, if you want to know the truth. You don't want to get too far ahead of yourself and then have to backfill. So with the PFS ready to build the open pit, PEA in a couple of weeks coming on the underground, exploration potential north and south, and we've already moved a little bit north of the old mine with some exciting stuff we could talk about later if you wanted to. I like really where we are at. I expect it's going to start and I don't look at share price. I look at the actual market cap related to the project. I think we're where we should be now, but I would expect with these catalysts, we're going to quickly move for a re-rating, and that's exciting.
Yeah, it certainly is. Of course, a lot of shareholders are looking at the share price. Some of them maybe daily, and it's all good at the moment. Very nice, as you said.
You were telling me about some of the numbers. I think we've had a nice run here, even in the last month.
Oh, yes. Yeah, since we last talked, it's about 25%. Since the beginning of the year, over 150, 160%. So that's even more exciting that the catalysts, as you say, are just coming in now, or hopefully coming in sooner rather than later. You touched about that on that already, but let's talk about the PEA very shortly. That's for the underground portion of what you're doing at El Tigre, and that's how far away? You'd say end of the month?
I would say it's end of the month. We're in July now. That's what I've been telling everyone. Tried to get it to the first half of July, but you know, sometime with this paperwork, it drags a little bit. But I'm very pleased to say we're still on track for the end of the month. Look, I just want to summarize for folks because it's been a while since we talked, a month or more, I think. So just you got to remember what El Tigre is. It's classic Mexico precious metals mining. We call it a flowering epithermal system, where you have, and think of this as the flower, that vein that comes all the way to surface, high grade silver and gold. Ours is about 75% silver, 25% gold, and that's what the old timers took the 100 million silver equivalent ounces from 1910 to 1930 at about 2.5 kilo after actual grade. Incredible. And then at the top, something they didn't pay attention to, but what we always do is the actual flower, if you think about that. That's that big stockwork, oxidized at surface, where you get that wide dissemination up to 100 meters of great mineralization that you basically can just dig up and put on an open pit. It's interesting that, you know, we've got that ready. So PFS done, we'll build on that. I have the debt lined up for that. 86 million capex. I think it drives about a Canadian NPV at today's prices of $700 million Canadian. Imagine, crazy, beautiful on 86 million capex. That's why it's a 70% IRR. But for me, it makes 700 at today's prices, 700 million USD after tax free cash flow over the 9-year mine life. Done with a bow on it. Let's get that built. We'll talk about permitting at the end because we're ready to go on that. Now the PEA, that's door number 2. Open pit first, then you transition underground, use some of that cash flow. So people are going to see, while we did the pit, we weren't sitting on our hands, as they say, and doing nothing with the underground, because that underground will be a 10, 20, we think 30-year district scale project. You're going to see the first 10 years of that or so in the PEA that's coming. And we've been drilling this since 2017, underground and open pit. And we've already put 100 million silver equivalent ounces in the pit and 113 million silver equivalent ounces already underground, with the PFS saying, just tighten the drilling up a little bit for the open pit. It's in exploration potential, and you'll get another 73 to 100 million more just in that couple of kilometers around the mine. That's documented. People can go look at that in the PFS. Now, PEA's coming, couple of weeks. First economic test. We know what PEA is, preliminary economic assessment. That's what this is going to be. And look, we're permitted underground for 800 tons per day, so you can guess it's going to be an 800 ton per day, but you don't have to be rocket science to figure that out. And, you know, we like to match the mine life up, say, to the pit to start at 10 years. You're going to see the grade. You're going to see the economics. Can't wait to get it out there. It's going to be exciting. But what I think people have to realize, this is the start. Don't look at that PEA when it comes down and say, they've got 10 years of making that number up, and they've got an 800 tons per day, and that's it. At 800 tons per day, I already have 113 million silver equivalent ounces underground. It would take me 31 years to process it all. So you can understand this is sort of the start. And in Mexico, what we see a lot is, and people should know this, is you don't see a 3,000 ton per day mine. Sometimes you do, but very rarely, out of the gate. You usually see 1,000 tons per day. And then after several years, when you get a lot of development done, you really got some more delineated, you get at it, that could turn into a 1,500 ton per day operation, or a 2,000 ton. And then they slowly grow as you develop. I think you're going to see that for us at El Tigre. And people, when they read the PEA and see how much ore is already there, they're going to say, yeah, this 800 tons per day might change in the future. So read it with respect to that, but look at all the ore, not just that first 10 years that we're putting an economic test on.
It says it's right there in the name, preliminary economic
Yes,
assessment.
absolutely. You've nailed it down.
Well, will also be interesting to see what kind of numbers will be used. Price numbers for the metals prices will be used in the PEA.
No, that's so funny you bring that up, Bjorn. You're very thinking it through very well, because I asked the same question to our team last week, and I have a call today on the PEA later. And I said, guys, how do we reconcile this? I don't know the answer yet. I said, we did the PFS just last year, okay, in the fall. 21, that's our PFS is done at $21.50 gold and $26 silver. That's changed a little bit. So now we definitely have to say, what price? We are very conservative. You know, we want to make sure we always cover the downside. And so when we put in the price, we put in a price that even if it's here, the economics are incredible. So I challenge people also, when they see one of these economic tests that come out, I don't care who it is, anyone, a PEA, PFS, feasibility, look at the study price and go, wow, it still is so robust at those prices. And then go find in the document, or even, and most times we put that in the press release, what's called the sensitivity table. I think if you know, that's a very important thing to steer people towards when they read any of these economic tests, the PEA. So for our PEA, there'll be a price. It'll be much lower than the market price today. But then look a couple of columns over in that table and say, oh boy, look at what this does at today's prices. And, you know, we can't put the study out at that, but, you know, that's the reality of where those numbers are. So I always tell people to find that sensitivity table in the report.
Yeah, we'll be sure to bring the slide up once the PEA is out there. Then that's good to hear. So let's keep our fingers crossed that will be out by the end of the month before I go on holiday. And I would very much like to talk to you about that then. On the other hand, you said you're ready to go on the open pit part of things from the technical side of things. And I think last time we talked about that, you have the PFS, you're not going to do feasibility study full because your financiers already said they're good with the numbers or the detail you gave them. So what's it hinging on to get started is the permitting. And I'm not sure, if you can say there's going to be progress or not progress, because it's up to the authorities. But let's touch about something that had some people some people a bit confused, apparently. Not the people buying the stock, because that went up regardless, There were some comments from the new Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, regarding there being no new concessions in Mexico in mining. And that caused some people to be very concerned. But I take it from your look, you're not.
No, Bjorn, we're not. So look, people, I'm going to give a little history of what happened. It's about 2 weeks ago, and I'll tell you exactly what happened. Incredibly positive news. The president called a press conference to talk about mining and how important mining was to Mexico. The president who made this press release, I think it was 2 weeks ago, about 2 Mondays ago. The speech was incredibly positive. She talked about the fact that, and look, let's cut to the chase. We'll come back to what she said. We had all these calls. Oh my goodness, Glenn, concessions. She's not going to give them concessions. That's not a change. They haven't given new concessions since 2017. So nothing has changed here. Your permit. I'm sitting there, I'm kind of chuckling. I'm saying, and we had to do this, but it's about terminology. A concession is when you go and you stake a claim as a prospector and say, this acre or hectare of land, I think there could be something here. I'm going to stake it. I'm going to acquire that concession or register it in my name, and then I'm going to explore it. They've been exploring metals in Mexico since 1700, the Spanish. Every concession that's worth anything is already owned by somebody. We have never staked a concession. El Tigre, I bought those concessions. Those concessions have been in place for hundreds of years, all the way back to when at 1900 and 10 to 30, the Americans mined it. So for us, it means absolutely nothing. A concession has no connection to a permit whatsoever. So absolutely no effect on us, absolutely no effect really on most mining in Mexico, because as I said, we don't need any more concessions. I got 30,000 hectares. I'll be dead. They'll still be drilling off Tigre with what I have today. Now, what she did say, and that's all the press reported on. What she did say, clearly, I've reviewed the speech very carefully, and there was all kinds of press other on it, was mining's important. We know there's a 6-year backlog for environmental and mining permits. We are working to get those in place, moved as fast as we can. Number 2, she said the following, so important for us. We understand that open pit mining has to basically take place. It will not be banned. It has to be done in the highest environmental standards. Of course we do that. It's the same rules in Canada as it is in Mexico. And we play by those rules and all the international rules up on top of that. That's what we basically do when we do a project. So all of this was extremely positive. And then somebody said a concession is not going to be there. How does that affect it? It affects us in no way. So, I hope people understand terminology. A concession and permit, totally different. Concession to mining, totally different. So we had a lot of calls also on that, but we've straightened out everybody with respect to our shareholders who called about it. And I hope that helps you very much.
Okay, that's good. That's good to hear. I mean, we saw there was no adverse effect on the stock, so
they're all actually all going up.
Anything. So that's good to hear. But still, you're waiting for the permit, you're waiting for the PA, but as you said, you're not sitting on your hands. So
no.
What are you doing at the moment? I think you're doing some exploration, right?
Let's just talk about permits first, because I want to end on that. You got me off a little off kilter on my permit, just to give the general news, because I know it was concerning for some that no concessions, not for us. That being said, look, what I'd like to say is remember, we have an underground that's permitted, 800 tons per day. When I bought the public company and delisted it to take the asset in around 17 into the company, we protected that permit. And so when we applied for our permit, it's not a new permit. It's an amendment to the existing permit and the environmental approvals that are within that to have the open pit. And that's very common in Mexico. If you look, since the start of the year under the new government, I think we're over 40 amendment permit issuances now. No new ones, but 40. And some of those, and I think we talked about it, the Mulatos, that was a big mining district for the last 20 or 30 years. They took the open pit and then they amended their permit to go underground. They got a 2,000 ton per day underground permit. I think it was January, February. You see Core getting all kinds of amendments. You saw Mag Silver, just before they were sold, get an amendment basically to increase Juanicipio, which is a wonderful asset. And then shortly after that, Pan American bought Mag. But from my side, we are an amendment permit. We are going through the process as an amendment permit. I'm very happy with how that's going. And I always keep saying this. We expect that we're going to get our amendment very soon. And I think it's important for people to hear this. And maybe I said it the last time. We have a very conservative team with respect to building this thing. And Francisco Albalez, who, 30 years of building mines, the last 12 before he joined me, all those big open pit mines in Sonora, the same state we're in, for Argonaut, which was a very well-known silver company in Mexico. He joined us, he left. And, he would always say, let's do all these things we need to do after we get our permit. Well, a couple of months ago, we're in enough of a position, we're comfortable on our permit. We started spending that money ahead of time, so we'd be ready when it comes. And I'm talking about it, hiring KCA, Kepps Cassidy, we're the best open pit engineering company we think in the world, to do final engineering, metallurgy. We're working to get the power line started. We're working basically to build the man camp that we need to have there. So we're getting ready, and we're close, and I can't wait for the re-rating to come. I think there's two. That PEA, I think people are really going to see the underground, the second act of El Tigre, and then that permit's going to come. And I think when these permits come, whoever gets them, massive re-rating coming on Mexico. So, I like what's happened to us so far, but boy, is there ever exciting days ahead, because we really haven't even started that re-rating yet, as far as I'm concerned. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'll certainly hope you're right in that regard.
But I'm not sitting on my hands. You want to know about my hands, right? I think that's what you want to know.
No, I'm sure. Yeah, you alluded to that. You have been concentrating on about 2 kilometers of strikes around the old El Tigre mine. But you have, 25? And so you're going out there with the drill?
So what we're going to do, we think about it this way. That couple of kilometers around the old mine, I talked about it, like you can see right in front of you, 400, almost 500,000 silver equivalent ounces, almost 500 million in a couple of kilometers. We have south, 8 or 9 kilometers, 10 kilometers. We have north, about the same amount. So where do you find ore? Where do you find a mine? You find it in Mexico, under and around an old Spanish or American headframe. So we did that at El Tigre. And as we look now, south, there are 2 large mines on our land package, La Vida de Oro, La Mancha. We've been down there, big underground openings. We've sampled them a bit. Park the south, because I have to decide which way to go. North, we have better road access. Right now, we have full road access to the south, but better north. And then to the north, you have 2 mines, Protectora, about 2-3 kilometers north of the Tigre mine. And then 4 or 5 kilometers north of that, you have Pilares. Leave Pilares for now. We've been up there. That's going to be exciting, but not right now, several years from now. So we decided a couple of months ago, because the Tigre mine, 1908 to 1930, 100 million silver equivalent at 2.5 kilos. That was a big, big mine at that time. You had 3,000 people living there. There was hotels and saloons, and they had all of the supply companies. They had everything. It was a city, one of the largest in Sonora at the time. So an economic driver of that state. That being said, they had their hands full with all that, but the same company that owned the Tigre mine was Lucky Tiger Mining Co., the American company. That was the actual incorporated company. The concessions, again, these concessions that I have been there since 1900. So they had too many concessions, so they leased the concessions to another American company, and that American company and built, I call it El Tigre Mini. They had the hotels and the saloons. They built their own mill, like they did at Tigre, and they had a wonderful operating mine there for around the same vintage. We said it's time to go rinse and repeat. Let's go see what's around the next mine. I'm sure it's going to go well because the first one did. So 2 or 3 months ago, we said, let's go up there. We're mapping, we're sampling. We've been through about 1 kilometer of underground up there already. There's some substantial underground workings up here because it fed that, American mill, a smaller one, but still an operating mine, Pilares. Protectora it was called. I apologize. I mixed them up, P&P. And so that couple of kilometers north, we're going to get the work done. And on the fall, let's get some drills up there while we're hopefully building out the pit and moving the PEA for the underground to PFS so we can get ready to build that. let's go look at the first blue sky outside what we spent the last 6 or 7, 8 years exploring. We're excited, we think, and then we'll go south someday. Look, here's the reality, Bjorn. I see a lot of people stand up and they say, boy, they've drilled 20, 30 holes, maybe not even that. We've got a district. You have no idea you have a district. You have an idea. We've now drilled basically hundreds of thousands of meters of drilling here, PFSs, economic tests, and we've scoped out the north and south. We have a district. So we have a district. So people can not only, they can hang their hat on that. Now we have to say, how do we start to exploit it? Because here's the plan. Get this in production. That's how I get 7 or 8 drills north and 7 or 8 drills to the south. And we just keep adding ounces and ounces and ounces to this. And I think the upside and the potential is exciting. I will say the last thing that I'll mention here is our technical team thinks that, and they tell me all the time, Glenn, and they're younger men than me in Mexico, unfortunately, you'll be long dead and we'll still be drilling ounces at El Tigre. And it's comes off as a joke, but they mean that. Yeah, okay. Big district, and we're just getting started.
Okay, well, that sounds like a great closing remark, and I'm certainly looking forward to all this come about. We've got the near-term potential over the summer with the PEA and the permits coming up. We've got the drilling for the fall, so you're all set to continue your run, hopefully. Thank you very much for taking the time, and we'll talk again once there's news on that front, on any of those fronts. Thank you.
Bjorn, thank you so much. Always a pleasure.